Okay, so today I'm going to be showing you how to build an e-bike, a rough rundown, because I'm tired of people asking me questions, and also there's a lack of literature in the e-bike community. So, without further ado, let's get started. This is a 48-volt e-bike. That is 1,000 with a top speed of 30 miles an hour on level ground, which is the average speed that it runs at. Or like top speed is probably like 33 when it's fully charged to the 3 miles an hour. So it's 30. So here's how it works. Ready? So there are three main components of the e-bike. You have your batteries. So if you open this case up, I have it zipped on. You can see I have two batteries. These are lithium, so you have one battery in here, this yellow one, and we have this black one. And you can see the cables from the two batteries pop out here. And the reason I have two is for the, each trip is, when you go somewhere, you have to go the same distance back. So if one battery dies, I always know I can go home on the second trip. So I'll never be stranded. Like if you have one battery, you're going to be stranded if you go too far. With two, you're never going to be stranded because you'll always have the exact same amount of charge to get back home by swapping the connector, plugging into the second battery. So each battery is 48 volts, which is 13 series. 18650 lithium cell is 3.6 nominal volts, so 3.6 times 13 is 48, so that's how you get 48 volts. The fully charged voltage is 54. So the way you charge is you just get one of these chargers. You could use a server power supply, and I explained that in another video. And you just plug it into here. Obviously I can't plug it in because I'm holding the camera, but you would just plug it in and the light would charge it. And it stops charging when it turns green, and if it's charging it'll show red. So yeah, those are the batteries. Okay, and then two batteries, and I forget how many in parallel or how many amps that is, but probably like 14 amps each, or 15 amps, or actually 16 amps I think they're each, for a total of 32 amps times 48 is whatever. I think I have 1.5 kilowatt hours of batteries in here. So that's step one. Now the batteries are DC powered and they go to the controller. Okay, so you follow the wires and it goes here. This controller, you have to match the controller to the voltage of your system. So this is a 48 volt, like a kilowatt controller, 1,000 watts, right? And this controller has MOSFETs, and it turns the DC into three-phase AC, and it turns into like a trapezoid wave. So it's not a clean sine wave. There are expensive ones that do clean sine waves, but you're just wasting your money. So then phase 1, 2, and 3, these three phases actually go to this wire. This wire traces all the way down to the motor, okay? And the motor, this is called a wheel hub, a hub motor. So there's two types of e-bike systems. There's a hub motor and a mid-drive. The mid-drive has a little motor you put in here, and this hooks up to your pedals, and then you use the existing bike derailleur. You're wasting your money on that. You're paying like triple or double for that, and why the hell would you want to pay more money for basically the same product? So yeah, so this hub motor, spins. And one of the things about these e-bikes is you got to make sure that sometimes these things get loose. And one time I was biking and the hub motor fell out, and I was only going 5 miles an hour, so I didn't get hurt. But obviously, if you're doing 30, you would have might have slightly be injured. But so the way you fix that is I welded a little washer to this axle. You just use a stick welder. It's rusted. So the way it works is the weld actually makes it so the axle is kind of in there permanently to an extent. I can still remove it for changing tires and things. It's hard to explain, but the idea is you want to use, some people use torque arms, but I think the best way is to so I welded a washer here to extend the dropout, because the dropouts on this axle is a real fat axle. So the dropouts on most of the bike frames are not big enough to fully go around the whole circumference. So that's what I have. I welded something on to extend that. So yeah, other people use torque arms, but welding is obviously superior because welding is you know, it's like a hell of a lot better, right? That's 60,000 psi versus a torque arm is like, you know, a little hose clamp, you know, with like, you know, that's gonna fail in like a week. So welding is the way to go. And you actually want to disable the rear e-bike brake. You only need one brake on a bike. I mean, come on, man, just disable it. So I have it disabled when I'm biking, and I don't need it because, you know, one is good enough, and also I don't want like debris and crap to hit it, or sometimes this wheel slightly gets a little wobbly when it hits bumps and it's going fast, so I don't want it rubbing against the brake pads. So rather than reach through the wheel, which would cost time and money, you just disable the brakes and you eliminate that problem completely. So yeah. So then, in addition to the three-phase wires, the hub motor needs Hall effect wires. Hall effects are certain electrical components that are positioned in the motor, and it tells they're intelligent. So they mark the position of the motor, and the controller will then know which phase to energize, because each phase is not energized at the same time. There's a certain pattern to them. So these are the Hall effect wires, and the Hall effect wires have a Hall effect connector. So all e-bike controllers will have, it's standardized, thank God, similar to open source. So you could pretty much use any controller on any e-bike system as long as the voltage is matched. You run your 3 wires, and then you plug into this Hall effect connector, which is standardized. I'm pulling on it right now. You're going to see that on your controller and your e-bike. It's all the same, so don't worry if you don't get good images, because it's the same on every single e-bike virtually, every kit, everything. Okay, so then here are all the garbage wires. So this is the throttle wire. This throttle wire has an intelligent display. My e-bike is not plugged in now, but maybe I'll plug it in. Just give me a second. Okay. So this throttle wire has like 6 wires, but most of them, a lot of the simple ones without this indicator have 3. So that's the only difference on your end. And then the other wires are like brake cables. I mean, just don't even bother with that. I mean, if you want to brake your bike, just release the throttle and just use the these levers. Why the hell do you need a brake label? I mean, at first I installed it, but then I disabled it because that's redundant. I mean, this is like a 48 volt tap. I mean, you could put a voltmeter into here. I mean, that's not necessary. So basically, all you need to do for e-bike is wire your main battery wires, your phase wires, your Hall effect wires, and then your throttle. All the other wires you could chop off. Like this wires, I could all chop off, but I'm too lazy. I'll just leave them there, right? So, yeah. The next thing is you go to the front of the bike. When e-biking, you're going to want to have a speedometer. So I have a speedometer right here. That's important. It's nice to know how fast you're going, right? And then this is my front brake. That's really all you need. And did I answer all the questions? I'm thinking if I'm missing anything. Oh, a light. Just get one of these from Harbor Freight, put it on a zip tie. It works okay. And then obviously I have a chain, e-bike chain, Harbor Freight, and we have a little phone mount. So obviously pedal assist is garbage, actually, so just run a throttle. Don't even waste your time, because, you might have to monkey around with that, yeah. So how did I mount the batteries? Right. So this is a power tool bag. The controller is zip tied on. I mean, just zip tie everything, when it's simple. So this power tool bag is zip tied here, and this is a 1x12 or 1x10. And the way this is installed is I remove the water bottle screws for the water bottle, and I just put little metric screws that go right into the frame of the e-bike where the water bottle was, and they're drilled through this board. So it's secure enough. And then to prevent this bag from wiggling around, I put a little piece of angle iron so that the batteries the bag doesn't move around. And so let's demo it. Ready? So oh God, is this even possible? All right, let's hit the throttle. So just hit it. So you just pull back on the throttle like that, and you can see the e-bike moving, tire. This is how it works. You just pull on the throttle, let go. Oops. And you're good. So yeah, I think that was a good enough demonstration. Any questions, leave them in the comments. And that concludes excludes it.